Around Kansas, we get a glimpse at what Deb has been up to. Then Nick App is back with an amazing scenic story from the air above Canopolis State Park. On the front porch, our guest is Kevin Larson. Ron Wilson is entertaining us with another great poem, and we end with Michelle Martin's segment on Linda Conley.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Good morning. Welcome to Around Kansas. I'm Deb Goodrich. Almost spring. The birds are singing outside my window this morning, and I hope they are at your house as well. So there is some hope in the air after this long, dark winter. I've got a new coffee cup. I've been traveling. I was in Oklahoma and I was in Texas. So this is from the Pampa White Deer Land Museum, our very good friends. And they have done a series of cups with their history. So this is actually a man paving a street with bricks. And his name is Indian Jim, is what he was called. Jim Brown. He was actually a member of the Oneida tribe, but he broke the Guinness Book of World Records for bricklaying in Olathe, Kansas. But the photo that is used is of his laying brick in Pampa, Texas. So just one more of the connections that we have with one another. And I just love this series of cups, and what a great story. So we're going to feature Jim in a segment coming up real soon. So while I was gone, I picked up a few other things. While in Oklahoma City, I visited the state capitol, which is under renovation, and I think by the end of the year, they're hoping it will be finished. So while I was in Oklahoma City, I visited with Trey Thompson, who used to oversee this remodel, but now he is at the Oklahoma State Historical Society. So he told me that while they were working on the remodel of the Oklahoma State Capitol, they came to Topeka for inspiration a couple of times, that the state capitol in Topeka was their model. So we can be so proud. I've said so many times that our state capitol is the jewel of our state and of Topeka. It truly is a piece of art. And I really miss the art scene in Topeka. And I know a lot of you in Topeka miss it too, because with COVID, so many events have not happened. But we have such a great arts community in the capital city and throughout the state of Kansas. But that capitol is our greatest work of art. It truly is spectacular. And it's so, it was really awesome to me to know that other people recognize that as well. Now, I can't go to Oklahoma City without visiting the Cowboy Hall of Fame, the Western Heritage Center. And while I was there, I picked up this little Christmas ornament with John Wayne. How good. Is this a great country or what? And I want to mention something else, what my friends are up to. Lewis Craft's book on the Sand Creek Massacre has been published. Actually, came out in 2020, near the end of the year, I believe. Lewis is one of the most thoughtful authors I know. This actually has won the Wrangler Award, again at the Cowboy Hall of Fame. And Lewis will receive that award in September, and I plan to be there to watch him get it. I'm so proud of him. So proud to have a little mention in the acknowledgments in this book, along with some of our friends who are wonderful historians and authors. So I highly, highly recommend Lewis's book, Sand Creek, Tragic End of a Lifeway. I've had many conversations with him over the years as he was working on this. So thrilled to have it out finally. A lot of good things going on and a lot of good things on our show today. So stay with us.
Howdy, I'm Seth Hayes, and welcome to my hometown, from then to now, Council Grove has a rich history, as deep as the prairie tall grass. Spend the day visiting 25 historic sites, or explore the unique shops and restaurants, or mosey out of town along the Santa Fe Trail. You all visit my hometown, Council Grove, in the heart of the Flint Hills.
This segment brought to you by the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center in Oakley.
It's great when I get to share my favorite places and people with you, and there's a couple of them in this next segment. Nick Apt is a regular contributor to Around Kansas, and he just couldn't be more enthusiastic about our state or getting outdoors in Kansas and being a part of the incredible scenery we have. So this is a feature that he did on the lake at Kannapolis. And while you're in Kannapolis, don't forget to visit Fort Harker and our good friend Greg Heller, and tell them all Deb sent you. Today we will visit Kannapolis State Park thanks to Apt Films and Dad's Eye View, who collaborated on this short film about Horse Thief Canyon and Red Rock Canyon during the Kansas Scenic Locations group hike led by Nick Apt. Let's join Nick as he leads us on a spectacular hike around a very unique landscape. Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on three main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
This segment brought to you by Bob Schwartz Financial. Values, commitment, transparency.
I'm Jamie Bloom, and today I'm visiting with historian Kevin Larson, who is an expert on the history of the Blue Valley, and especially the history of the fight against the building of the Tuttle Creek Dam that took place in the 1950s.
1955, the funding started again, and so things started up again. So everything had been put at a standstill. There were fences put up around what had been done at Tuttle Creek. The offices were boarded up and everything, and it looked like it was going to be to an end. And in that time period, the Blue Valley did raise money to make a film called The Tuttle Creek Story, and a lot of you have probably seen that movie, but it was an effort to try to tell people that, there's no need to build big dams. We can have small retaining dams, and they would have the same effect. You wouldn't have to destroy beautiful valleys, because eventually the valleys are going to get silted in, and they're going to be, their effectiveness won't be as good as it would have been. Right. But anyway, so the funding came in. So the Blue Valley people were discouraged, of course, but they decided that, maybe we could build public opinion for our side if we would just open our valley, let the people come in, walk through our churches, go through our homes, see what's going on. So in October 55, they had an open house for a weekend, and they just invited people to come. And
did they have a good turnout for that?
Well, and I think they said they had around 5,000-6,000 people come out to view everything that was going on. And they had a guest book at the VFW building in Randolph. So there was people you could see from all over the country that had come in to view the valley. And they had set up different tours that you could take. If you didn't want to drive it yourself, they had people who would drive you around in their cars. You could take an airplane flight up over the valley and see the valley from Manhattan to Blue Rapids. And they put out a big broadside that had all the historical sites that were there and what would be lost if the dam went in. So it was a great effort to try to do that, and they started to build up hope. So they hoped that by 1956 that they could run Howard Miller for Congress again, and if he could win, then maybe they could go through and stop this whole thing. So by 1956, quite a campaign to get Howard Miller back into the Congress, and that was a time that a group of us, myself included, went down to Topeka. We walked Kansas Avenue with placards saying to vote for Howard S. Miller, but in the end he lost. And after that defeat, it became pretty apparent that it wasn't going to have any success to stop it. So after that, it kind of became sort of okay, we're in this thing. What can we do? What can we get the best out of it? So by 1957, the work on the dam had pretty well progressed up to like Stockdale and on up into Garrison. So they were acquiring the land, tearing the buildings down, etc. The town of Randolph was more like in late 1960, early 1961. And that they acquired the land and started, tearing everything down to prepare for it. So it was quite...
What could individuals on farmsteads do, Kevin, if that, were there people that just flat refused to leave?
Well, they, basically most of them realized. The only one who really who became quite famous for his refusal was a man by the name of Ort Weber, and he was one who was not going to give in. And of course, stories abound. Stories being told that when the appraisers would try to come on his land, he would come with a shotgun and make sure they didn't come on. on and stuff like that. But basically everybody, they can take it as long as they say they give you a fair market value. So a lot of people would not accept the first offer that they were given. They would take them to court and try to have a judge see that the land was worth more than what they were offering. And a lot of times they did get more, but a lot of them said, whatever we got extra, pretty well want to pay for the lawyer fee that we were charged and stuff. But it was a lot of great remorse because there were families in the Blue River Valley that were the fourth generation living on that land, and it was very hard to give up that land because they built up these beautiful homes, the land, and etc. And it was just hard to walk away from it. I always said from personal experience of knowing the people that went through that some people I knew really literally almost died twice. They died when they finally had to give up their home and move out of the valley, and then they had to go on and physically die. It was just a really devastating happening for them to see their churches, everything just be able to be done away with and torn down.
I'm Bob Swartz, and I've devoted the last 43 years to helping Kansans reach their retirement goals and to protect the family farm. At Bob Swartz Financial, we believe everyone should be able to live the retirement they've always dreamed of. Our team of professionals can help you create an efficient strategy using a variety of investment vehicles to help you address your financial needs and your concerns. Bob Swartz Financial values commitment and transparency.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.
This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Let us help feed your family.
Like any business, the cattle business has its ups and downs, its high points and low points. I think most of us in the cow business enjoy working with cattle. It's what we know, it's what we like. But when viewed from the perspective of a career counselor, it puts it in a different light. This poem is entitled, Cows as a Career. Choosing a career as your life goes on its way was the topic of the speaker at our son's career school day. The school counselor addressed the students in a reassuring voice. We want every student to make a rewarding career choice. We do a battery of tests to check your aptitude, and we'll tell you the results once the totals are accrued. He said that people choose careers for lots of different reasons, and they might change over time as life goes through different seasons. So find what you enjoy and the vocation that implies. He said, pursue your dream career and go where your interest lies. I thought about that message while driving home that day and was grateful for the lesson in the school's communique. I gave thanks for the school's thoughtful career support as I turned on the radio for the day's market report. But the news was all bad, and I gave my wife a frown because there's oversupply of beef and the cattle market's down. When we got home, I hurried out to do the chores and found the cows had somehow broken in the old barn doors. The rain started to pour as I quickly drove them out when I slipped on a spot beneath the old downspout. My feet went out from under. I landed with a thud. My town clothes were all spattered with manure and with mud. I thought about that counselor, and as I later asked my wife, was it the glamour or the money that made me choose this life? Happy trails.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org. Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for that grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we'll be glad to answer it and work with you.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Michelle has an incredible story for us this morning as we mark Women's History Month. And I must say, I have been a fan of Lyda Connolly's for many, many years. And I have my friend Holly Zane to thank for that. So buckle up for an incredible story. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Deb, and welcome to Women's History Month. Today, I want to introduce our viewers to a Wyandotte woman who made legal history. In 1868, Eliza Burton Zane Conley, a member of the Wyandotte Nation, gave birth to a daughter. Little could she or her husband, Andrew Conley, know the heights to which their daughter Lyda would rise. The youngest of 4 sisters, Lyda Conley grew up on her family's 64-acre farm in present-day Wyandotte County. The Conleys encouraged all of their daughters, Helena, Sarah, Ida, and Lyda, to obtain an education. Lyda took her parents' advice to heart and earned a law degree from the Kansas City Law School in 1902. She went on to become the first woman admitted to the Kansas bar. Lyda would eventually use her degree to defend the rights of Native Americans, both living and dead. In 1906, the Huron Indian Cemetery, located in a prime spot in downtown Kansas City, was proposed for sale and development. The cemetery was the traditional burial grounds for Wyandotte people dating back to the 1840s. For Lyda and her sisters Helena and Ida, the cemetery held personal value. Their parents and her sister Sarah were buried there. To keep the cemetery from being sold, Lyda and her sisters built a small shack near their parents' graves and dubbed it Fort Conley. The 3 women lived in the shack and protected the cemetery with shotguns at the ready. They erected a no trespassing sign and dug in for a prolonged battle to save the cemetery. Lyda told a Kansas City newspaper, "In this cemetery are buried 100 of our ancestors. Why should we not be proud of our ancestors and protect their graves? We shall do it, and woe be to the man that first attempts to steal a body." In 1907, Lyda filed a petition with the U.S. Circuit Court for the District of Kansas to stop the sale. Their occupation of the cemetery continued. When the court ruled against her, she appealed the case, and it went to the United States Supreme Court. Lyda argued the case before the High Court herself and became the first female Native American lawyer to argue before the nation's highest court. Chief Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes ruled in favor of the lower courts, and Lyda dug in for a long fight. Her impassioned plea gained a powerful ally in Senator Charles Curtis. He introduced legislation that would save the cemetery and designate it a national landmark. After years of legal wrangling, the cemetery gained protection in 1916. Lyda maintained a watchful eye over the cemetery for the rest of her life. She died on May 28, 1946, and was buried in the cemetery she worked to protect. In 1998, the Wyandotte Nation of Kansas and the Wyandotte Nation of Oklahoma agreed to preserve the cemetery. The land can now only be used for its sacred, religious, and cultural purpose, the respectful final rest of the departed. Now the site is a National Historic Landmark. I hope you enjoyed learning more about the incredible life of Lyda Conley, and that you'll join me next time for another historical adventure somewhere around Kansas.
Thank you for allowing us to be part of your day. Share us with your friends as well. I'm Deb Goodrich. I'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.